I love oatmeal raisin cookies, but some of my friends don't like raisins. They are raisin haters. So I did what any sensible person would do, and I made a wheel of mix-ins so my friends could replace the raisins with something that they find comforting. This has turned out to be a really fun experiment in what I'm calling the oatmeal dream cookie.
Let's spend time with Marco, but the food is the star, so it's probably worth sharing.
Hello, I'm Marco, and welcome to my home kitchen. This is the oatmeal dream cookie. It's called the dream cookie because you can tailor it to whatever your heart desires. There's something about the warm spice, the chewy, crispy, buttery flavor that is almost like a warm hug. If you're making it with your kids, it's a great way to engage them in the process of cooking. You can easily divide the recipe into batches to make 3 or 4 different kinds all at once. They freeze really well. So if you want to have a personalized cookie for dessert, you're never more than 15 minutes away from that. So let's make our dream cookie a reality. The ingredients are things you may already have in your pantry. You have old-fashioned oats, all-purpose flour, butter, brown sugar, white sugar, cinnamon, vanilla, baking soda, salt, eggs, and then raisins or something that's not raisins. The first thing you want to do is measure all of your ingredients before you start browning the butter. Things are going to happen really fast after that. So in this large bowl, I'm going to put the brown sugar and the white sugar and set that aside. Then in the small bowl with the flour, I'm adding the salt and the baking soda. And then just stirring that together to make sure there's no clumps of salt or baking powder in the mix. Set that aside as well. I have my oats and raisins already measured. What I need ready for the brown butter is cinnamon or whatever spice you end up using, some ice cold water, and 2 eggs, which I'm gonna get from the fridge after this is ready. Browning the butter adds really nutty, toasty flavors that really complement the oats and the spices. To brown the butter, I found it's more effective to use a wide pan than to use like a taller saucepan. That's going to help the water evaporate faster and give you a bit more control if the butter starts foaming. This is 2 sticks of butter going into the pan. You want to do this over relatively low heat, and it's going to take about 10 minutes. Low heat really matters here because there's a risk of scorching the milk solids. This first foaming stage is all of the water evaporating from the butter. That's what's going to make it angry and sputtering like this. Once all the water evaporates, that's when the milk solids are going to start to caramelize and start getting those toasty, nutty flavors. The butter has gone clear and it's starting to smell very warm and toasty, and this is when the milk solids are caramelizing. It's going to foam again, and when that happens, that's telling you that it's getting near the end of the cooking process, and you need to be very vigilant not to burn it. So if I swirl the foam away, you can see there's all of these nice brown bits at the bottom. That's where all the flavor is coming from. So this is a really good point to stop. So I'm going to turn this off. And this is an important step. Add the cinnamon to the hot butter. The flavor molecules of cinnamon and a lot of spices are fat soluble. That means is they're going to kind of get superpowers inside of this mix. Take this off the heat. And this is going to go right into your sugar. By pouring it directly into the sugar, this is going to help cool it down quite quickly and help the sugar dissolve very fast. This helps you save a step where normally you would be creaming the butter and sugar together. And then add in 1 tablespoon of water. This is replacing the water that was lost in the browning process. Now you want to grab 2 eggs straight from the fridge. And this is going to help emulsify this mixture, but it's also going to cool it down really rapidly. A lot of recipes will ask you to cool the butter down before you put the eggs in. The risk there is that you could cook the eggs, But by moving it to a bowl and mixing it with the sugar, it's going to cool down quite a bit. So you'll see this is in the 130s. Eggs will begin to set between 140 and 165, so you're fairly safe to add them in at this point. They're also going to rapidly cool this mixture as they get incorporated. So mix the eggs in until it's a homogeneous mixture. Checking again with the thermometer, this has dropped down now to 100 degrees, which is just over body temperature. So it's fairly safe to add your eggs in right away. Next, add your vanilla extract. You want to add the vanilla once things have cooled down, because the vanilla is like the opposite of the cinnamon. Its flavor compounds are going to start evaporating because vanilla extract is primarily alcohol. Then add in your flour. You can stir quite aggressively here. There's so much fat and so little water in this recipe, you're not going to get much gluten development. You want this to be smooth like this with no clumps of flour visible. Lastly, add in your oats and your raisins or not raisins. And fold this together. At this stage, your cookie dough might feel more like a cookie batter. What's going to happen now is this needs to rest for at least 30 minutes up to 2 hours at room temperature, or for up to 2 days in the fridge. During that time, the oats are going to absorb a lot of the liquid, the raisins are going to absorb a lot of the liquid, and the spices are going to mellow and blend into all of the ingredients. The butter will also firm up, so it's going to be a lot easier to form into cookies. So please don't skip the resting step. If you want to speed things along, you can pop it in the fridge, but you need at least half an hour at this stage. I'm trying to use less plastic, so I'm actually just going to drop a plate on top and come back in half an hour. Depending on how big you want your cookies and how many cookies you want, you can use a 1/4 cup cookie scoop like me. This will give you a 4-inch wide cookie. When you're making large cookies, you can really only fit 6 on a baking sheet at a time. I don't have a normal size oven right now. I just have a small convection oven. So I can only fit 4 at a time, but on a normal baking sheet, you should be able to fit 6. I wouldn't do more than 6 at the size because they're all gonna start touching. Put parchment down because they will stick to a normal baking sheet. I'm going to take these to bake for about 15 minutes at 350 or 325 if you're using convection. So you can see these cookies came out about 4 inches wide. The center was a little bit underdone. That's intentional. It will keep the cookie soft and chewy, but that means you need to let the cookie cool completely on the baking sheet before you try to move it. If you try to move the cookies too soon, they're going to break in half and fall apart, and that won't be fun, but you do get bonus snacks. One of my favorite things to do with this cookie dough is freeze it to make individual cookies later. To do that, use your same favorite cookie scoop and drop them on a baking sheet that's lined with parchment. So I fit about 12 on here. I've probably got 2 or 3 left. The other thing you can do here is squish them down about halfway before putting them in the freezer. By squishing them down, you won't need to thaw them before you put them in the oven. You can go directly from freezer to oven, which makes for really great midnight snacks. So I'm going to pop this in the freezer for about 2 hours and then move it into a Ziploc bag. All right, let's give these a taste. It's such a good cookie. You have these crispy edges, but a soft, chewy middle. The brown butter is bringing this really toasty, nutty flavor. The raisins are just a little punch of sweetness and some extra chew. And the cinnamon is really nice throughout. They're so easy to make. They're so easy to keep in the freezer. And you can have a personalized cookie at any time. I think they're just a tremendous thing to make for yourself and your friends. It doesn't have to be an oatmeal raisin cookie. In fact, we can spin the wheel right now and see what our options are. So this is my virtual wheel. And we've got pineapple, pecan, and caramel drizzle. That's one I actually made last week for a friend, and I didn't expect it to taste good, and it's my new favorite cookie. Spin the wheel, and we've got chai spice, tonka, and fig, which is a combination my friend Chris put together. And you've got orange zest, cardamom, and cranberries, which is something my friend Christina put together based off her homemade granola recipe. Now we've got chocolate chip. Now we've got Earl Grey tea steeped in the butter and dried blueberries. I really hope you make these cookies. They're one of my absolute favorites. I hope they bring you some comfort, and I hope if you get to spin the wheel that you get to play around in the kitchen. I think we all need a bit of comfort and distraction right now. So try them out. If you make them, let me know what you put inside of your cookies in the comments. Tag me on Instagram, and if you need the full recipe, it's on my website. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.
It's probably worth sharing.